Hello and welcome to another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Courtland Warren. Growing up, one of the things that I was known for, perhaps to my mom's frustration and dismay, was that I would ask the question of why. I wanted to know why and how certain things worked, and why they were the way they were, and how it could be different. Like that was a driving question for me. Why and how? And I wouldn't just leave it alone. I would press. If the answer didn't make sense, I would press. And so one of the questions, where am I going with this? Well, one of the questions that I was on the why and how about was what makes people, or why is it that some people seem to have and others do not? And as it turns out, that's not a new question. Napoleon Hill was asking that question when he started Success Magazine years and years ago, long before I was born. And it turns out that people have asked that question over time. What makes the great great? Why do some achieve and others do not? And there are a plethora of factors that determine this, but in a very general sense, it's is there a particular mindset that is required? When we go beyond inheritance, we go beyond things like luck, right, which are two things that you don't ultimately control. It turns out that it is, or it does come down to mindset and a way of approaching ideas, and the actualization and the execution of ideas is really the key. Okay, so early on, I was asking that question of how and why, because our particular situation, I saw that people had it better, it seemed, or at least things were different. Of course, look, for my altruistic listeners, of course, I also heard the things like, well, all those things aren't necessary. What you really need is love. All you need is love. And so I think we can, this is not an altruistic view, okay? And I'm not opening this up for debate on what's important or what's not important for a person's life, or to create and live a life that matters. I'm speaking to you from, what was going on for me, and having and not having, or going without, or having to go without, and then questioning as a youth why that was the case, why it was that others had and many did not. I definitely went through the range of, well, because I grew up in church, and so there was oftentimes the view that, well, God is mad at us, God is mad at our family, and so we've done so many things wrong, and so in a lot of the songs that we would sing, kind of in those songs really reinforced that idea of just being real, right? And so that there was that thought. And then it was, okay, well, maybe we're just not smart enough and not good enough, and all of those things were reinforced. But as a youth, I would not let up on that question of, like, why and how come. And as I continue to ask the question, and when you look at the word question, right, Question, we could look at it like a quest, I am on, okay, or quest, I'm on, quest I'm on. I believe it was Tony Robbins who said the quality of your life can be found in the quality of the questions that you ask. And so rather than be upset or move to a place of blame, I set out on a search for what are those characteristics, what are the qualities that can be found commonly in those who seem to achieve and excel. And yes, there are those who will make justification, and they'll use those justification to stay where they are. Those are typically not people who listen in on to Unmuted, but I'm just making room for what could be debate and question. And so as it turns out, though, when it comes to what makes people successful, and how to be able to, if it's true that there are the haves and the have-nots in one line and two lines, these two lines and the haves and the have-nots, if you want to be able to change lines, there are some characteristics that I have found in research and study, that there are some characteristics, some traits, some signals, some clues that are inherent in those who were able to do it. So I remove those who, were, we'll call lucky. We'll remove those who, it was inheritance and so forth. But those who are first generation, right? Who without having it modeled for them, they figured it out. What are the things that they did differently? One of the things that they did for sure, and I'll call it number one, is they emulate the success of other people. So oftentimes when we're looking to get started and we're looking, you're going to be the first one in your family to build, create it, to grow, or you start your own business. There are these ideas, there's this belief around not being a copycat. And so what we look to do, and often I've been guilty of this, is, well, okay, how can I be original? How can I say it in a way that's never been said? How can I do it in a way that's never been done? And a lot of time gets wasted because we're looking to do it in a way that has never been done before. When in truth, by the mere fact that it's you who are presenting it, you who are bringing the idea, you who are in the execution and the actualization, right, that makes it in and of itself unique. If you just hold up your index finger and you look at that fingerprint there, understand that with 8 billion people on the planet right now, and who knows how many have ever existed, right? Not one has ever had the fingerprint that you have there on your index finger. I don't know about you, but for me, that's enough to speak to your uniqueness. And so it is like when I teach in my Move the Room class, I say, and we get a real life example of this. I won't go into it right now, but two people can say the exact same words. 3, 4, 5 people can say the exact same words, and the meaning is interpreted differently, even though they're saying the same thing. Right, and I am one to understand that there are people who will never hear it, regardless of how true it is. They're never going to hear it from me, but they will hear it from you. And there are people that will hear. There are also people who will hear it from me, and they're not going to hear it from you. We don't get to control all of that. We don't get to get all of them. So we want to spend less time looking to do it so originally and uniquely, and recognize that highly successful people they have always been willing to emulate the success of other people, right? Like, why go and reinvent the wheel when there is evidence already of what will work? Does that make sense? The second thing they do, not only do they emulate themselves, they put themselves out there. They make it known. There is a degree of self-promotion that is required for you to achieve great success. Right? People have to know that you exist. They have to know that your product or service exists. And so when it comes to putting yourself out there, making it known who you are and what you do, which this podcast is an example of that. I believe this is episode number 29. And I remember with episode 1, doesn't seem like it was that long ago. And of course, it was like, well, it needs to be. Then you see some of the podcasts now, and it's this, and it's that, it's this, and it's that. And man, they have full-blown productions. I don't have that, but my message is getting out. I don't have that today, I should say, but the message still goes forward. You know how much time I've wasted waiting for it to be perfect, waiting for it to be, positioned in a way where it could not be scrutinized or criticized, right? There are a lot of people that get stopped at the start because they're concerned about how it will look, versus just putting themselves out there and getting in the repetitions. It's risky, yes, uncomfortable for sure, but where you move into through experience of it far outweighs what you could ever consider through an intellectual understanding or construct. So so they put themselves out there, they make it known that they exist, and they're willing to stand on their ability to deliver a product, a service, or execute on an idea, right? They're willing to take the stand, even with all of the scrutiny that might surround it, right? And recognize that when you start to change, when you really start to change, it becomes uncomfortable for those who have known you up to this point. Right, because you are inevitably changing them also. There's comfort that they have reached. There's comfort that they have now realized as a result of you being how you've been. So when you start to change, it changes them also. And we know that, people don't really like change, even when it's good for them. So they not only so highly successful people. If you're going to change lives, you want to begin to move your life forward at a faster pace. Emulate the success of other people. Number two, put yourself out there. Make it known that you exist. Give yourself a public declaration. Make a bold statement, so to speak. And then number three, invest in yourself. Okay, because highly successful people, they invest in themselves. Why? Because the returns are great. See, so what I've come to know in my experience over the years with highly successful people, my buddy Rick Salmeron comes to mind. Rick is a guy who will invest. He value now. He's a financial advisor and a very good one, but he values time over money. Even though he's in the world of money, he values time, and as a result of that, he will invest. He will invest money if it means saving time. Well, why is that? Well, it's because we understand, right, that highly successful people recognize this, that money can be replenished, time cannot. So if there's something, if there's a tool, a technique, a technology, an understanding that can save you time, right, then you invest in it because by saving the time, okay, you inevitably can make more money because the money replenishes. I believe it was Elon Musk who said it's easier to generate an additional $10,000 than to save 10,000. But you got to know the ways and the means of doing that. So by investing in yourself, and when I say investing in yourself, not just investing in a euphoric, right? Not just investing in a feeling, right? But more and more I'm recognizing that it's skills that pay bills. All right. So you want to invest in skill development. Mindset is extraordinarily important. Yes. And as you're developing the mindset, do so while developing a skill that requires you to be resilient in the learning of it. Right. So whether that's digital marketing, public speaking, writing copy, sales, okay, it's about you recognizing that skill development is what increases income. You don't get it just because you're a nice person. You don't get it just because people like you and you're a nice guy, a nice guy or girl. That's not how it works. Okay. That's not how it works. And so you want to invest in yourself in a way where you're developing skill that tests you and challenges you so that you build resilience along the way. So you're developing a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. It challenges you. You go through the 4 stages of learning. Right? You go through those 4 stages of learning, and as you're doing so, if you're tough enough to maintain it, then you develop a resilient mindset in the process of it. So you're willing to invest in yourself because you see yourself as, right, a worthy investment, right, and a fascinating, beautiful, handsome return as a result of the investment that you make in you. All right. Then also, so we got emulate the success of other people. Put yourself out there, right? You got to make yourself known. Number three, investing in yourself. Number four, not afraid to risk, not afraid to take a chance. Okay, they recognize that it could lead to criticism, it could lead to embarrassment, it could lead to humiliation, but they're not afraid to do that. They're not afraid to take a chance. Now, or to risk. Okay, so they embrace risk and they see it as an opportunity to move ahead. And you got to be willing to do it before the masses catch on. Right? I have often said, the idea that, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Like I'll believe that a pen is possible when I actually see a pen. Right now, that's just because I'm not obviously not in studio today, but this is just what I had around me. So, but a person says, well, I'll believe in pens when I see a pen, or I'll believe in cell phones when I see a cell phone. When I see a cell phone, then I'll start believing in cell phone. Okay, but entrepreneurs are those people who are willing to work on it and develop it before the masses even know it's a possibility. And I often say that if you're a person who will only believe it when it's physically manifested, then you're going to always be a follower. You're not ready for or equipped for leadership if you're a person who will only believe after you have the evidence of it. What does that take? What does it take for me to believe in a pen when I'm holding a pen already? What's much more powerful is to believe that a pen is possible before I've ever seen one. And you've got to do that for your life by design. To say, well, I'll believe it when I'm there, okay, will always have you behind. But you're going to actually work, right, with the full faith, intent, and focus that you're creating it, that it will happen because you've already seen it in mind, and now it's going to happen because you're working deliberately to create that. Right? That's what highly successful people, innovators, and entrepreneurs have done. They've inverted the relationship between seeing and believing. They see it in mind first, and then there's the manifestation of it. That's how it actually works. Okay. That's a key. That's a key. We're not going to believe it when we see it. We believe first, and then we take action in the direction of the actualization of it. All right. So we got emulating. Okay. We're going to emulate the success of other people. We're going to you're going to put yourself out there. You're going to make it known that you exist. There is a level of self-promotion that is required. So whether that's you developing videos or having a YouTube channel or, advertising and marketing, like those who are going to follow you need to know that you exist. And so you got to get started. Okay. And as you get started, you don't relate yourself to people that got millions and millions of where was I? I don't even remember where I was. I was talking to someone like recently. They were like, "Oh, okay. Are you on like I was at Krista Mayshore Summit, and I met a lady. Her name is Jacqueline. And so Jacqueline, like, are you on Instagram? Yeah, I'm on Instagram. And so she's like, okay, what's your name? And then or what's your last name? So Courtland Warrior is like not even 4,000 followers. She's like, oh, okay. So then when she followed me, I looked at hers, it was like 96.7 thousand. I was like, oh, yeah. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Instagram the way you do Instagram, right? But here's the deal, right? We got to be willing to go and not necessarily compare ourselves to those who are further along. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so you got to be willing to put yourself out there, invest in yourself, right? Don't be afraid to risk. All right, and then number 5, they're driven to achieve. They're driven and determined, right? It's as though, and a lot of times it's because of their beginnings. Okay, when you read the stories of highly successful people, highly successful women, highly successful men, their beginnings, there was something in their beginnings, early on, early days, in their youth, there was something that drove them. And a lot of times it might be that feeling of worthiness or deservedness, like I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do this. So if you have an opportunity to ask them like what the beginning was like. I used to believe that, only my family was in the struggle. I know that's naive, but remember, I was 5, 6 years old, and I'm looking around into these eyes at the time, everything on the other side of the tracks looked so wonderful. I've come to know over time that, yeah, everything over there wasn't so wonderful. It wasn't. And that adversity and challenge meets everybody. It visits everyone. So being driven and persistent is also required. And I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on that because we get it, right? We understand that. But then also resourcefulness, okay? Number 6 is resourceful, right? It's the belief, it's the view that you came into the world with everything that you need to be, do, and have whatever you can imagine or desire. You came into the world with it. And high achievers are resourceful. They know how to take what they have and make more of it, right? That's dynamic value, as one of my mentors, Marshall Thurber, would often say. Dynamic value. It's the value, right? Value that you bring to an organization, to a relationship, to your children, right? Is your ability to do more, right? To do more with less, yes, but your ability to take what you have and make something greater out of it. To make something greater out of it. So Sterling, he just I didn't get to attend because I was on the road, but he was in the homecoming step show at his beloved Langston University. I remember when he didn't want to go. Okay, we now got this recorded. He did not want to go, and now he said he could not imagine being anyplace else. So he's in the homecoming step show, and so He's in the homecoming step show, and I didn't get to attend, but he sends me he gives me a call, because whenever, big things are happening for me, he'll reach out. And so he's like, Dad, I'm nervous. I got, I just want to, and I just calmed him down. I just calmed him down. I said, Doc, I said, the one thing is, uh, I wish I was there because I want to see this. And I said to him, I said, I know what is in you. I've raised you and I know what's in you. I have been waiting for moments like this for your entire life. I've been waiting for moments like this. I said everything about how I disciplined you, how I raised you was for moments like this, that when the time comes, when the lights come on and all eyes are on you, what you are going to deliver won't just be by accident. It's been in you since the beginning. So go have fun and allow what's already in there, allow that to come out. He sent me back. He was like, oh, he was hype. He was ready. He was right. But it was true. Oh, that wasn't a hype speech. No. That's true. I said, all my children, I know what's in you. If you'll listen, if you'll trust, I know what's in you. Because I know the truth about them. I know the truth about you also. I know the truth about you also, that you are remarkable. You are remarkable. And everything that you need to be, to do, to have, whatever you desire, you have it within you to go create it and make that happen. I am unwavering in my conviction on that you have within you what it takes. And so highly successful people are people who are resourceful. They don't need it all handed to them. They don't need it all, they don't need it handed over to them on a silver platter. Right? They just need the tools to go build it. They'll go. In fact, they don't even like to be told what to do. They just want the resources. Where can I find this? Where can I find that? Okay, great. Now and then they go out and make it. They're resourceful in that way. And you have that capacity as well. And then lastly, they're constantly learning. So number one, emulate success. Number two, put yourself out there, make yourself known. Number three, invest in yourself. Number four, you got to be willing to risk. Number five, it's about being driven. Number six is resourcefulness. And then number seven is constantly or continuously learning. It is, it's an investment in yourself. But investing in yourself, at least initially, is about learning a new skill, learning a new way of being. Constantly learning is more about over time. It's greatness over time. The great athletes, right? We call them great because they did it over an extended period of time. They didn't just hit, the game-winning shot in one game to win the championship for their team. Year after year after year, sometimes decades. They find ways to always be in the conversation of all-star, all-pro, championship caliber team. When I look at, like I have to tell you, like I got to tell you, I'm not a gymnast. Okay, well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not really into gymnastics like that. But I am fascinated by Simone Biles. I am fascinated that year after year, Olympics after Olympics, or world championship after world championship, she wins. She's now the most decorated gymnast in the history of the sport. When people feel arenas, they fill arenas to see her perform. They fill arenas to see her perform, and she walks out, and she has to know by now that so many of those people are there to see her. Young girls, young boys, families, moms, dads, they're there to see her on the vault and on the balance beam and on the floor exercise. They're there to see her. She knows that all eyes are on her. And time after time she performs. And she's been doing it now year after year after year after year after year. That's what the great ones do. the great ones. Now imagine her feeling like, oh, okay, well, I'm a past world champion, so I'll just wait for the next world championships to come around, and then I'll get myself back in the gym. I'll let 2 years pass, and then I'll go, well, because I've done it. I've done it before, so it really used to. I would be irritated by this idea when people would attend my courses and they would say, well, I've heard this before. Yeah, I've done this before. Yeah, I've already read that, but I've done that before, right? It's like it is not the message of greatness. It truly isn't. It's truly not the message of greatness. The great ones never get bored with the fundamentals. They never tire of what's required to remain great. They're constantly looking for ways to improve upon what they've already mastered. It's true. It's true. And it can be true for you. And so you look out into your life, a life by design, and you want to be in the conversation of the greats and those who are remembered. Don't reinvent the wheel. Emulate what's working. Be willing to put yourself out there. Invest in yourself. See yourself as worthy of investment. When you notice an offer being made on social, purchase it. Don't just look for the free information. Purchase it. And when you purchase it, recognize that you're doing so as an investment in you. You're seeing yourself as worthy of the investment. It's not, oh, I'm giving my money to that person. No, you're seeing yourself as worthy of a financial investment. Don't be afraid to risk. Use your internal drive and determination. Recognize that you are resourceful. You came into the world with all you need to have what you can imagine, and never tire of learning. Never tire of learning. Be one who is constantly inspired by the fundamentals. If you do that, then the lives that you contribute to will speak of you in great ways because they appreciate the contribution that you made to them. I hope this helps. And if it does, don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that this podcast does exist. And if you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Courtland Warren, and then also on Facebook, Courtland Warren. CourtlandWarren.com is my website. Okay, so really enjoy you listening and growing together. I promise to only share when I believe it will be of value to you. Speaking of Move the Room, the last Move the Room of 2023 is going to be held in December. And so if you want to know how specifically to move an audience or an individual so that you can close more deals, so that they buy into your way of thinking, so that they buy into your vision. If that's something that you want to improve upon, then be in Move the Room. Okay. And so you can find that information also at CourtlandWarren.com. All right. With that, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Have a great one.